everyone, this is Speak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be my full review of Gen V Season 2. Now there'll likely be spoilers here, not only for this season, but also for the previous season, and also for the series of The Boys as well, so just beware when going into this overall video, and you can check out my previous coverage of both of those series within the channel, and I'll leave some links within the description. So just in case anybody doesn't know, Gen V is the spin-off series within the Boys universe, which involves a corrupt celebrity superhero group known as the Seven, genetically created by the multinational company known as Vault International. Now Gen V took place before the 4th season of The Boys, concentrating on a group of younger teenagers with special abilities who were known as Supes, being educated within the Goldokin University with aspirations of one day joining the Seven. The core characters here concerned Maria, Moreau, Andre, Emma Meyer, Kate and Sam and Jordan Lee, all going through the various issues and dilemmas as they go on to uncover darker secrets within the university which tie to government conspiracy and experimentation of other superpowered teens. Now the season 1 finale saw the outbreak of imprisoned Supes running riots within the college campus, causing all-out carnage. Marie has to engage both Sam and Kate in the battle, but is eventually stopped by Homelander, and the result of the fallout sees the remaining group of Marie, Emma, Andre and Jordan all trapped within some sort of hospitalized facility. Sam and Kate are held by the media for stopping the overall riots, and they have potential to later on join the Seven. We ended the series with both cameos of Homelander and Billy leading up to the events within the 4th season of The Boys. Now season 2 picked up shortly after those events, first beginning back in 1967 with a horrific outbreak following experimentations carried out by Dr. Goldokin himself. We fast forward to the present time, where we see Emma and Jordan released and put in front of the media to account for the outbreak within the campus. We find out that Marie has escaped the facility, and she later comes under attack from another assassin and is eventually saved by Starlight. We found out that Andre also died, trying to break the others out and escape. And we see his father later on constantly under the emotional duress of losing his son. We see the emergence of the new dean of the university known as Cipher, who has his own agenda, including Maria and her connections to this very secretive Odessa project. And as with season 1, over the story we uncover various dark secrets as the gang once more find their lives in serious danger. Now overall I enjoyed season 2 of Gen V. It carried a lot of the same qualities that made season 1 so good, once more focusing on the darker conspiracy and superpowered elements, and there remains a very steady build up within its storytelling. Perhaps there wasn't as much of a standout episode throughout this season, but overall the main story arc was consistent enough with enough moving pieces to keep things interesting. What helped this a lot was the constant link to the Boys series, where we had several cameos, and what was good about these cameos is that the majority of them weren't throwaway. They felt integral in terms of Gen V's own particular story, whether it was Stan Edgar and Victoria Newman's daughter showing up to help give refuge to the other students as they came attack from the vicious being known as Victor, and they were there to help provide information on both Cipher and Goldokin. We saw Starlight appearing to advise Marie of handling her abilities, and at the end of the series we see both her and A-Train asking the gang to join them in the upcoming resistance that we will probably see come to prominence in the 5th season of The Boys. It was perhaps only Sister Sage's appearance, where we see her sleeping with Cipher and later on Goldokin, that didn't quite feel as important or necessary. Again, this didn't hurt the series in any way. Sister Sage was one of the more interesting characters within the 4th season of The Boys, but it just overall didn't feel as important as the other appearances. And throughout these cameos, as I mentioned before, there were very little hints as to what potentially could happen within the final season of The Boys, so that's all very good and well. Now in terms of the story, I don't think this season was quite as strong as the first. Essentially it all revolved around the battle against Cipher, who overall wasn't a great antagonist. There was a certain interest as we were trying to uncover the true extent of his abilities. We learn throughout the middle half that he has psychic powers and he's able to take control of the others, and this offered a lot of very suspenseful moments and dangerous situations, including one in particular where we saw Marie and Jordan face off in some sort of media gladiatorial brawl, and this offered plenty of drama. Now, the twist that came within the penultimate episode that Cipher was indeed another person entirely, being mind controlled by the original Godolphin, who we saw throughout the season in very much of a battered carcass, being treated by the original Cipher himself, didn't quite have the impact that I think it should have done. I think overall the twist came perhaps 1 or 2 episodes too late. By the time we get the big reveal, there's not quite enough development with Goldokin himself, whose ultimate goal is to basically reevaluate all of the current Supes and build a new superior community of superpowered students. But this goal really wasn't that particularly compelling, and overall the stakes felt much more smaller in scale than what we had within the season 1 conclusion. Now, whilst I fully understand that you can't really have an antagonist that's on the same power level as Homelander from The Boys, you were just hoping for something a bit more of a substantial personality that would really drive the overall excitement as we headed towards the overall finale. Now, in terms of the main characters, I'd say the most involved this year were Marie, Kate, and Emma. Kate had one of the most interesting roles because we saw her constantly conflicted, both in terms of her own role working alongside Cipher, but also the fact that she came into conflict many times with the other group. She, of course, was alongside Sam responsible for the team getting captured in the first place. So there was always this back and forth and unpredictability as to where exactly she stood. Once she would be with the team, but you were always wondering whether she would actually turn on them later on down the line for the fact that they assaulted her, especially in the opening episodes. Marie's arc, being the important Odessa project, kept her the central figure of the story, but to an extent it did diminish the overall capabilities of the other characters, especially in the later episodes where she's clearly way more OP. We see at one point she's able to hold all of the other characters within the air and brush them aside as she goes on to proceed to take on Cipher single-handedly. Now, I do think to an extent this was a mistake because, again, it makes the other characters less important. If we come on to any potential season 3 and future foes, would Marie really need to work alongside them? Would she be able to work on her own? So hopefully if we do get a season 3, they will take the time to increase the power levels of the other characters involved so everything remains on a much more clearer parity. Now, I do think the weaker characters were both Jordan, Lee and Sam. In particular for Jordan, who for the most part was really just a love interest for Marie. We see ultimately in the finale that their romance doesn't come to anything. Jordan ultimately feels that Marie can't be trusted with her newfound abilities. And there wasn't as much depth within Jordan's character this time around when we opposed that to last year, where the character was very much about defining both of the gender identities, gaining respect with her parents, and also being able to stand as an individual. We look at Sam, who also was potentially the threatening antagonist of last season, and there was the connection to his brother and the handling of his powers, and last season it was him that was this all-powerful force that was a loose cannon. But this time around there just isn't much there, minus one particular scene in the middle part of the series involving his parents. But apart from that, he just ends up being a fringe character and he's just pining for Emma for most of the season. So we move on to the finale, as I mentioned before, which saw Godolkin in his now truer form going out there to manipulate the other students. And we see various battles within the underground university. And to be honest, as I stated before, this felt much more lower in scale. It just wasn't much to Godolkin. Why exactly does he want to reconfigure the students? He didn't really seem to have much aim or particular higher aspirations. Again, much more time could have been spent with him exploring the current timeline that he's in and adjusting to the world that was very different from when he was the top scientists. But we see the big battle, as I mentioned before, and eventually they get the upper hand. Marie gains control of her powers and then deals a lethal blow, quite literally blowing Godolphin to pieces. The gang escape and are told by Andre's dad to basically leave the university, and then we conclude the scene with seeing both Starlight and A Train appear, looking to recruit the others in their upcoming uprising or resistance against the Seven in the all-out final battle within the 5th season of The Boys. So overall, I still like Gen V, as I mentioned before. I find it to be very compelling and strong. Perhaps this season just wasn't quite on the same level as season 1, but I still think there's enough potential here for a third year if it indeed does reach that level. I would also say that this season has been severely undermarketed, both as an individual series and also as a continuation within the Boys universe. We know that Amazon shortly has plans to release a second spin-off of the Boys universe called Vault Rising, which is much more of a prequel story, and that will be set within Mexico. So whether that has any ties to Gen V, we'll wait and see. But I'm sure that we will see some of the characters appear within the 5th season of The Boys. And who knows, if there is enough hype and excitement and justification from that particular season, then maybe we will indeed see continued adventures of these students with a 3rd season of the show. So that's my thoughts and feelings when reviewing this 2nd season of Gen V. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other further movies, television series, or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover in the future, then also let me know within the comments, and I'll see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please consider hitting like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.